Steelers. Stephen A's team announcing they've signed coach Mike Tomlin to a 3-year extension through at least the 2024 season. Since becoming the Steelers head coach in 2007, Tomlin is 145, 78-1 in the regular season, 8-8 in the postseason, and 1-1 in Super Bowl. Speaking of Super Bowl, Stephen A., your team has not been to one in over 12 years. So with that being said, how much pressure is on Mike Tomlin with this new contract extension?
Well, I don't think there's that much pressure on him. I mean, obviously, there's always some degree of pressure because you represent and steal a nation. I would remind everybody, however, that in 14 years as the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, Mike Tomlin has never had a losing season. Not one time. Not one time. Okay, so we have to take that into consideration as well. We also have to take into consideration the plethora of individuals who are getting jobs that they didn't deserve. Adam Gase, thank God he's gone. He never deserved a job in New York. Kingsbury, I don't know whether he deserves the job or not in Arizona. Don't get me started with that. Mike McCarthy was picked off the scrap heap, and he's now the head coach in Dallas. You look around the National Football League, and there's a whole bunch of coaches with far more suspect resumes that have jobs in the NFL as head coaches. So when I look at it from that perspective, I don't want to hear about Mike Tomlin, being under pressure any more than what he's normally under. You need to win when you're in Pittsburgh. You need to be a respectable team. I think he needs to get a running game. I think continuing to improve that secondary definitely, or getting somebody to rush the passer, all of those things are important. There are elements that he can address, but in the end, there is no question the record speaks for itself. 145, 78-1. That's winning 65% of your games. This man does that. He has never had a losing record in 14 years. He is very, very well deserving of his job. And in a day and age, a time where we're looking at minorities and lamenting the state of affairs that exist as it pertains to the hiring of minority coaches in the National Football League, I'll be damned if anybody could sit here and tell me that this dude, who happens to be a minority, an African American, deserves to lose his job anytime in the foreseeable future. Not with that resume. He's, as far as I'm concerned, he's one of the standards. Congratulations and props to him. He deserves the damn extension as far as I'm concerned, and I'm very, very happy for him, and I'm proud of him.
Stephen A., I understand why you're responding to critics of Mike Tomlin, but I got to tell you, you don't have to sit here and make excuses for his extension. Are we living in bizarro world? Mike Tomlin, you can pencil them in for double-digit wins every season of his career as a coach. Oh, but sometimes he wins 8 games. Yeah, when they don't have Ben Roethlisberger, he wins 8 games. He's always been coaching in Bill Belichick's shadow. But what happened when Bill Belichick lost Tom Brady? Did he get to a 500 record? No, he was a game under 500. Could have easily been over, but wasn't. Mike Tomlin now looks a little different, doesn't he? No excuses for Mike Tomlin. He doesn't accept any for himself or anyone else. The worst he ever does, including without Roethlisberger, is an 8-8 season, but on average wins more than double digits. I cannot believe, and you bring up the racial angle, and I'm not going to deny that should be touched upon, but I don't care if he's purple or green or yellow, whatever he is. You give me a coach with Mike Tomlin's resume, you show me a team that played the way the Steelers did last year with, by the way, an ancient quarterback coming off a catastrophic injury who really couldn't get the ball down the field, an offensive line that couldn't block, consequently no running game, and they still won as many games as they did. Double digits, back to double-digit wins. The fact that we are actually sitting here on TV and you feel the need to justify, and I understand you're answering critics of the deal, but justify Mike Tomlin getting an extension? Has the world gone crazy? He's one of the all-time great coaches. He's got a Super Bowl win. He's never had a losing season. He wins 2/3 of his games. I just don't understand the world I'm living in sometimes.
Well, let me try to enlighten you. Although I know you were speaking facetiously, let me tell you something right now. You may not care whether or not he was purple or whatever. I happen to care. I happen to care about the fact that he is a black man and he is succeeding. Because the reality of the situation is that he walked in there with a very daunting task. Because as an African American, to be placed in the position that he's placed into, the expectations, the pressure, the obligations that come along with it, all of those things are things that get attached to these coaches and are used religiously as excuses to deny African Americans in leadership positions as leaders of men, at least compared to their white contemporaries, numbers wise. We've seen it time and time again. I know Matt LaFleur is doing a really good job in Green Bay, although I've disagreed with some of his decision making from time to time. I know he's doing a good job, but it doesn't escape me that he got the job when he was the offensive coordinator in Tennessee for the 27th ranked offense. I never forgot that. I know that Cliff Kingsbury might end up doing a good job in Arizona because they've had their good moments, and Kyler Murray can really quarterback. But it doesn't escape me that he was never really that relevant on the collegiate level, didn't coach on the NFL level, but somehow leapfrogged over a bunch of people to get that head coaching job. It doesn't escape me that Eric Bieniemy is the offensive coordinator of a juggernaut of an offense in Kansas City and couldn't even get a job. And then now who does he get hurt by? He gets hurt by another African-American in Todd Bowles, who obviously could have easily stayed on as the head coach with the New York Jets, but you moved on from him and brought in some dude who showed up high at the press conference, or at least looking high, and Adam Gase. Todd Bowles shows out as defensive coordinator in Tampa, and now everybody says, well, you know what? Eric Bieniemy, that was his chance. He'll never get another one now, because if you're going to look for a head coach, you'll probably look in the direction of the Todd Bowles of the world. So you use that one African-American to literally minimize somebody that never deserved to be minimized in Eric Bieniemy. We see all types of garbage, of nonsense going on in the National Football League, on a college football level as well, when it comes to African-American coaches. Mike Tomlin knows this. He has spoken out about it. He has spoken out against it, and still showed up on the field and had to validate that African Americans can be leaders of men by the leadership that he's shown over the Steelers franchise for the last 14 years. So I care a great deal, and I'm sure you do as well, Max. But I care a great deal, and that's what it's about.
I understand. That's why I began the comment by saying the racial angle is real, and it's good that you touched on it. I agree with that part. What I'm saying is, apart from the racial angle, even if you didn't touch it and just looked at the resume of Mike Tomlin as a head coach, why are we even talking about answering critics who if there are still critics out there, coming off a double-digit win season? If I had a coach of any kind who coached as long as Tomlin, never had a losing record, even when he didn't have his quarterback, and was coming off of double-digit wins, I'd be like, yeah, Sherlock, no kidding, you got a 3-year extension.
There's an easy answer, Max. There's a 4-time Super Bowl champion as a quarterback, formerly of the Pittsburgh Steelers,